What is the real reason you do not wish to take me? Is it because what you have told me is not true?
No. The camp is located on the edge of Romulan space. It is a dangerous journey.
Dangerous? It would be more dangerous for you to refuse.
Oh, very well.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Fully Functional, a TNG podcast. I'm Maggie, joined by Jeff and Dory.
Yo.
Jeff and I are veteran Trekkies, and Dory is a rookie Trekkie, and we are taking her on her first journey through Star Trek: The Next Generation. Today, we're discussing the Season 6 episode, Birthright, Part 1. Original air date is February 20th, 1993. And as always, we'll take it to Dory for the recap.
Okay. So, the Enterprise has arrived at Station Deep Space Nine to assist in the reconstruction of the Bajoran aqueduct systems damaged during the Cardassian occupation. Dr. C tells Picard there's basically a spa on board, but he won't have time to visit it because he will be discussing the finer points of water management with 10 Bajoran bureaucrats.
Exciting.
So,
Wow. Yeah.
You'll notice Dr. C, she says hollow suites, which is what they call holodecks on Deep Space Nine.
Because in TNG, it's
technically different technology.
Sort of. So what it is in TNG, it's meant to be like a here's a multi-person kind of thing. But when you see them in DS9, you'll notice that it's just kind of a small room. Like, you can fit multiple people in there, but it's not a very big room. So it's a suite, except, holographic.
Yeah.
Wow.
And in the series Deep Space Nine, they make no bones about it that people use it for sex.
Yes.
To do weird sex stuff.
I mean, that tracks.
Yeah.
Okay, so they have like a really nice restaurant. And I almost said Jorf.
That wasn't
Geordi
the restaurant.
Worf.
That's just like the mess hall.
Oh, whatever.
Yeah, that's like the cheap cafeteria.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's called the
I
Replimat.
was gonna say it's nice.
It is nice, yeah, for a cheap cafeteria.
I liked it. It
Yeah.
kind of reminded me, like, kind of low key, because like the floral and like vines on the ceiling of like the Winter Garden Theater in Toronto. For those who know what I'm talking about, if you know, you know. It's a beautiful theater. Okay. Anyways. And okay, so Geordi and Worf are having pasta oh god, what did I write? Fiorella? I don't know if I spelled that correctly.
Pasta al Italiano.
Yeah, it's one of Geordi's favorite dishes. Okay. They're also drinking they've got these like blue mugs that are shaped like beakers, and I like those. Like IKEA, get on that shit.
Yeah. DS9 has
30
a lot
years
of
later.
interesting
Dishware.
Dishware, yeah.
Okay, so Worf is like, Worf really likes the pasta. He's on board, but Geordi is like, actually, I'm not on board, even though this is my favorite dish. But
Well,
Worf
the implication
goes
is
to
that
town.
like the replicator like just makes it really shittily there.
Yeah. Geordi goes, Worf, I don't know how you can eat that stuff. It tastes like liquid polymer. And then Worf goes, delicious. So Geordi's going to go do a kiosk on the other side of the promenade. Looks like they have real food. And there's some guy in the background who's like watching Worf eat pasta. I was like, okay, perv.
Oh, don't worry. It's just the guy from Babe, Pig in the City.
I know. I wrote that down. So then.
Wait, you did?
Yeah. I wrote. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well,
James
yes,
Cromwell.
it's
I
James
literally
Cromwell.
wrote James Cromwell
That's right.
from Babe? Question mark.
You know what's great? This is not even remotely his most famous Star Trek role.
I've actually
he
seen
was
James
in-
Cromwell once. Yeah. I was in the audience of George Stroumboulopoulos, which I just majorly butchered his name.
No, I think that's how you say it.
Oh, okay.
That
I
is
thought
how
I
to say
threw
it,
in an
yeah.
extra B. I was in the audience a handful of times back in the day in my youth, and he was a guest one time, and he was a very interesting guy. But the best one was when Mandy Patinkin was there. I almost cried. I was so happy. Anyways, okay. Okay, so on the Enterprise, Data is researching or reaching? I don't know. I wrote reaching. We'll go with that. Is
Data's doing
reaching
something.
a minor power drain in the starboard EPS conduit. The problem is originating in reading. I wrote reading, not reaching. Jesus Christ. I'm not rereading that. There's a problem. It's originating in the sick bay. There's been unauthorized access into the computer's bioimaging systems. And so Data follows the nerd and finds a nerd. And he's like, hello, do you even go here? Who are you? And we meet Dr.
What are you doing in my classroom?
Yeah. We meet Dr. Julian Bashir, who is the chief medical officer for DS9. And the way that Julian's face lights up when he learns like this is Data is honestly low-key terrifying.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it scared me a little bit. I was like, girl, keep it in your pants. Calm down.
I thought it was cute.
I'm not sure how I feel about Julian at this point.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean, I told you that he fucking sucks.
And you're not wrong.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, okay.
He's not as bad as I remember him, but he's still...
He's not, like, terrible. He's not my fave. He's whatever. Okay, they are having a conversation very close up. Very, close talking. It's a lot. Okay, so
that is
Data's
a Star
like,
Trek thing, though. People being all up on each other's business.
Yeah, that is
You're
true.
not wrong.
Yeah. Data's like, oh, cool, nice to meet you, but you can't be touching our shit. And Julian's like, oh, I just, needed to use sickbay to analyze this device because otherwise it would have taken a really fucking long time on DS9.
That's
and
still
Data's
not an
like,
excuse to use our shit.
yeah, and Data's like, okay, let's take it to engineering. Okay. So then Julian tells Data that he didn't think Data would be so personable. And, I thought I wrote as he looks into his eyes, but I thought from the angle I am sitting, I thought I wrote as he looked into his hostages.
Wow. That is...
Yeah. Listen, it's been a long day. I also haven't looked at these notes since I wrote them, and so yeah, it's gonna be real messy and dicey. Okay, so I wrote, this goopy guy comes over to interrupt Worf's pasta time, and he asks if he is a Starfleet Klingon and son of Moog. But he pronounces it differently. He doesn't say Moog. He pronounces it like Mog or something.
Yeah.
And then I wrote, looks like mispronouncing Worf's dad's name is canon. And the guy, his name is Jaglum Shrek, which we all know what I'm going to call him now for the rest of the time.
Yep,
It's
absolutely.
Jaglum. It's Jaglum. We're going to call him that. No, I'm kidding. Obviously, we're calling him Shrek. Oh my God. So he is a man with information to sell, and Shrek's like, listen, Worf, your dad's still alive. And Worf is pissed. And then I wrote James Cromwell from Babe. Here's the thing, though. I didn't know that was him. I just saw his name in the credits.
Okay.
So I didn't realize. So I guess James Cromwell is Shrek.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I did not know that. I just saw his name in the credits. Okay. And then I didn't think about it until right now. I never thought, I didn't do a second thought about it. So I didn't think of who did James Cromwell play? Did not think of that at all. Okay. So Worf is not interested in a deal. He's like, just tell me what I want to know. And Shrek is like, tells Worf that allegedly not all the Klingons at Khitomer were killed. Many were captured by the Romulans and placed in a prison camp on a remote planet. and Moog is one of them. Worf goes, a Klingon would rather die than be taken prisoner. I should kill you for spreading lies about my family. And then Worf... Oh, Worf is pissed. Okay.
Yeah.
So then we cut to, he's in his... Wait,
Worf does a couple of things to this guy who are that are definitely not up to Starfleet code.
Oh, yeah.
No.
So then I wrote, Worf grips a panel on the bridge. Oh, okay. This is now, we cut to the bridge. And Worf is like really gripping a panel at his normal spot. And Troy and Riker notice. And Worf is like not impressed with Ensign Lopez's schedule or whatever that shit is. He comes over and he's like, no, go redo that, whatever. Mm-hmm. And then Riker's like, hello? And Worf snaps at Riker. And I was like, wow. Cannot believe Worf just snapped at Riker, his bro.
I know.
And then we cut to Worf having a bit of a timeout. And by timeout, I mean a close-up of a statue. I was very surprised we did such an intense close-up of this statue that I legit thought one figure was grabbing the other figure's ass. Mm-hmm. I should have time-stamped it for people to go look it up. But it's an interesting statue, which is also in Worf's quarters. And Worf is doing his calisthenics, and he looks like he's like doing bending from Avatar: The Last Airbender. I'm on board. And he accidentally breaks a glass table. So Troy comes in and she's like, did the table do something wrong? And Worf tells Troy what's going on, and he's like very focused that this would like be really bad for his Klingon clout if his dad was actually alive and captured.
Yeah.
And Troy's like, Worf, you can't deny the possibility that just because you don't want it to be true. I do like that Worf is now at this point, which is like, this is character development. Worf like did not need to like beat around the bush with Troy. She just came in and he's like, fine, I'll fucking tell you what's going on. Mm-hmm. She didn't need to like convince him. She didn't need to like be like, come on, Worf, come on. He just was like, okay, I'll tell you what the fuck's happening. Yeah. And I love that. I love that for Worf and Troy's. I know. I love their friendship. I do love them being bros and confidants. I love that. Okay, so now we cut to Data, Julian, and Geordi trying to connect that device Julian had to the dilithium chamber to power it up. Julian goes, Data, can I ask you a personal question? And Data goes, certainly. And then Julian goes, does your hair grow? Julian's asking the big questions.
Yeah.
And then Data goes, I can control the rate of my follicle replenishment. However, I have not yet had a reason to modify the length of my hair. And I just wrote, I hope Data never changes his hair. I don't want to see that. Julian's mind is also very much blown that Data can breathe and also has a pulse.
They're definitely going for the like naive guy kind of approach here.
So recently I started rewatching DS9 just because we were talking about it a whole bunch.
Yep.
And so rewatching the pilot and stuff, I think that's just generally what his character is supposed to be. It's supposed to be like young and naive and all that stuff, which is why I sort of give him like a bit more of a break now than I did before, because before I thought he was like just the fucking worst. Okay. But now I sort of like understand what they were going for. He's still extremely annoying.
Now, that said, I actually like the perspectives that he brings up in this, because he brings up a way of looking at Data that other people really don't. And it's interesting because he was actually a last-minute addition. Originally, the way that it was scheduled, they were supposed to do an episode, like a crossover episode with DS9 for the... what's it called? For Chain of Command, which would have made a lot more sense considering it's a story about Cardassians, but that fell through. The timing just didn't work out. They weren't able, like, it was a very busy days on set. They just weren't able to arrange it. And this was originally supposed to not be the Doctor. It was supposed to be Dax.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Now, they did have enough time to, like, rewrite it for the Doctor. So it wasn't, like, 100% like, shit, we don't have Terry Farrell. Let's call up Alexander Siddig. And it's like, no, it was like they knew a bit ahead of time, but they did have to adapt the script fairly quickly. And I think they did a pretty convincing job. Like the Data story is a much bigger part of this story than the Worf one is. Really not that much happens in the Worf side of the story.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like how the kind of perspective that he brings to Data, and especially how significant it gets later on. So, Doria, we'll let you continue so we can get to that.
Yeah, I would argue this story also does not do a lot. Here's the thing, I don't mind Julian. Like, I found him a little annoying, but I didn't find him bad. I like that he was, like, excited to see Data and, like, wasn't interested in, like, you know, taking him apart. He just was, like, his mind was blown by everything that Data just said. Which was fine. I didn't have a problem with that. The
thing that makes him really annoying in DS9 is that he's constantly hitting on one of the other characters.
Oh.
Yeah.
Gross.
She's not like flat out rejecting him. She's just kind of like playing along with it, but also just being like, you don't have a chance.
Yeah,
but I'm gonna have fun
he's nice about it. He's not like aggressive. It's more like, okay, dude, like, calm down.
It's written like 90s cringe, like, hey, want to go have dinner? Except like all the time.
Yeah.
And she's never annoyed by it. She just kind of like makes a joke to let him down and then continues on.
Yeah. And like I said, his character gets better throughout the series.
Much better.
Like, it's kind of part of his character arc that he, like, loses that naivete and...
Stops being a perv.
Yeah.
Actually, given...
alone.
Maggie, I wanted to bring something up with you, but I have to avoid making a spoiler about it because it's a spoiler about what happens with Julian's character partway through the series and the big reveal about his past. And I know that like that was a choice that was made like not early on in the series. It was made much later, and they just kind of decided to like retcon that things, you know, it had always been that way. And it's really...
Star Trek is retconning something? That is a plot twist I never saw coming.
It introduced like a really big secret in someone's past that technically colors the entire way that you see the character. But I can't tell you any more than that. And thankfully you would probably never guess it anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But the point is that with that in hindsight, it's interesting for the way that Julian tends to be kind of bemused with Data trying to fit in to humanity despite being, you know, like a superior being in many respects.
Gasp. Okay, back to the recap.
Yes.
Okay, so I wrote, the placement of where Data is standing seems like he's about to get zapped by the machine. 1 second later...
Data was zapped by the machine. Yeah.
I wrote, of course, here we go. Cut to Data walking alone in the hall.
You know what's an amazing idea? Let's set up this machine that we don't know what it does right next to the fucking, like, explodey core of our ship.
Yeah, seriously.
Yep.
Great place to test it.
Yep. And these are the brains of the ship.
Yep.
Cool. Great job, guys. And here's the thing. I don't think this song played, but I heard it in my head. So, but I wrote Mad World by Michael Andrews Place. I think maybe that's just a song I was like, that would be the vibe for when he's walking down the hall, I think.
Yeah.
And then I wrote, this steady cam is going to trigger my vertigo.
Yeah, it was pretty...
yeah, I think I wrote that again later as well. So, yes, I actually remember what I wrote it for. Okay, so then Data sees Brent Spiner.
I love how you word that. That's excellent.
So then Data wakes up and turns out he was out for 30 seconds. And he's like, oh yeah, I saw Dr. Soong when he was younger. And I was like, I knew that Brent Spiner played like older Dr. Soong, but I did not think he'd be like exactly younger. So I'm like, this guy really was like, I'm gonna make Data and what's his face
Lore.
Lore exactly in my image.
Well, yeah.
Hello.
It's pretty heavily
that's
implied,
bizarre.
or even stated that Dr. Soong is basically full of himself.
Yeah, he has a huge
Yeah.
ego.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I knew he had a huge ego, but I did not realize that, like, it was going to be him. I did not realize that Data and Lore were going to be exact replicas, basically, of him, which is wild.
To be fair, none of them are
so-
exact replicas of Dr. Soong. They're exact replicas of Brent Spiner.
Yeah. Yes, sure. So then Data's like, oh yeah, there's like 47 seconds unaccounted for, and he's got no record of cognitive activity. And so Data finds Worf gazing into space in 10 forward, and I wrote, I miss Guinan. I haven't seen Guinan in so long.
She was busy doing big Hollywood movies at this point in time, so they didn't get her very often.
Well, I miss her.
Fair.
So that Data doesn't really say anything. He just like goes up to Worf and then like turns around to walk away. But Worf is like, wait, no, Data, what's up? And you know, the way Worf does that. And Data asks Worf about Worf having a vision when he was young, which I didn't remember, but okay.
I don't think that was established. I think they made that up in this episode.
Oh, okay. So then Data tells Worf that he shut down but was still conscious, and Data's like, he saw his father in his dreams, and Worf's like, sorry, can't relate.
Yeah. Also, it's another little bit of lore of Worf's parents being the best, because they made sure to have Worf do like cultural ceremonies and stuff.
Yep, that's right.
I love Worf's parents.
When did this episode come out again?
February 1993. I almost said 2003.
Okay, she was doing...
Feb 20th.
Yeah, okay. Whoopi Goldberg's busy doing Sister Act.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. I see how it is, Whoopi.
Or Sister Act 2, rather.
Wow, I still see how it is, Whoopi.
Yep.
Okay, so then Worf encourages Data to investigate and, like, learn about this. And so Worf goes, in the Klingon Majka ritual, there is nothing more important than receiving a revelation about your father. Your father is a part of you. Always learning about him teaches you about yourself. And I'm like, oh, that's nice, Worf.
Mm-hmm. He does that thing where it's like he clearly starts talking about himself.
Oh, yeah. Listen, I'll take it. I love Worf. And Worf goes, that is why, no matter where he is or what he has done, you must find him. And Data goes, but I'm not looking for my father. And Worf goes, yes, of course. And then Worf, I wrote in brackets, I wrote, Worf's like, this isn't about you. So then Worf looks for Shrek, and Worf wants to go to the prison camp, and Shrek's like, cool, I'll give you the coordinates. But Worf's like, oh, no, you're also in it to win it with me, and you're coming with. Shrek's like, oh, sorry, I don't have transportation. And Worf is like, you drove here. And then Worf's like, I don't have the time. And he's got other business. And Worf is like, I'm your business now, bitch. And then Worf holds Shrek over the railing like where there's people, and is like, people are like noticing, and Worf's like, why don't you want to take me? Because you're lying? And Shrek's like, it's dangerous. And Worf's like, it would be more dangerous for you to refuse. And Shrek's like, fine, but full payment in advance. And Worf's like, nope, payment after. And Worf tells Shrek that if he's lying, he will kill him.
Shrek basically gets nothing of what he wants, and Worf gets everything.
Gets everything. And then we cut to they're off. And I wrote, and they're off. They're going to stay up late swapping stories, and in the morning they're making waffles. You can't name somebody Shrek and not have me actually put in a proper Shrek reference.
Terrible.
So, yes. In my headcanon, they're making... I almost said they're making Shrek on the waffles. They're making waffles on the ship.
Shrek on the waffles.
Okay, so then Shrek tells Worf that he needs to be transported directly to the surface. What did I write? 30 kilometers from the prison camp because there's a detection perimeter. And Worf's like, it'll take me 12 hours to walk through the jungle. And Shrek's like, oh, there's some bad shit in the jungle. And Worf's like, so you know about this camp, but you didn't tell anyone? And Shrek's like, yeah, money, please. I don't give away anything for free, bitch. And, then we cut to back on the Enterprise. Data goes to see Picard. And, okay, I wrote this conversation, then scratched it out. And basically, Data's like, oh, I looked into, like, other religions and philosophical shit, and, like, I don't know what this, like, vision means or whatever. And Picard's like, oh, okay, this part I'll read. So Picard goes, I'm curious, Mr. Data, why are you looking at all these other cultures? And then Data says, the interpretation of visions and other metaphysical experiences are almost always culturally defined, what did I write?
Determined sounds right.
Something like that. I'm not sure what I wrote the word was. And I have no culture of my own. And then Picard says, yes, you do. You're a culture of one, which is no less valid than a culture of 1 billion. Perhaps the key to understanding your experience is to stop looking into other sources for meaning. When we look at Michelangelo's David or Simne's tomb, we don't ask, what does this mean to other people? The real question is, what does it mean to us? Explore this image, Data. Let it excite your imagination. Focus on it. See where it leads you. Let it inspire you. And then Data leaves, and Picard looks very proud of himself. So then Data goes back to his quarters, and he starts to speed paint Dr. Soong. Then, meanwhile, on Endor, Worf and Shrek trek through the jungle. And Shrek gives Worf some directions and a homing device so Worf can find him for pickup in 50 hours. So Worf, he's on his own now. He stops to drink some Go-Gurt. I don't know why. And he hears a noise. So he then turns and he sees like a Klingon lady like splashing around naked in the water. She like
Worf is confirmed to be a peeping Tom.
Yeah, which is like,
well, to be fair, it doesn't look like he's like looking. He's just like curious.
He's like, what is the noise? Yeah, he's not being a creep.
Happening.
He's not being a creep. He's being a weirdo.
Wait until you find out how old she is.
Oh no.
The actress or the character?
The character.
Okay.
Still, oh no.
Yeah.
Nobody knows this. Ugh. Okay, so then Worf is like, oh, I'm here to rescue you. And she's like, aren't you a little short to be a stormtrooper? And she's like, I'm like, this is fine. Like, this is my home. And Worf's like, what? And then he watches her leave with the Romulan. So back on the Enterprise, Geordi goes to Data's quarters and is like, bro. And Data has made a full-out art collection based on his vision. Mm-hmm. And I like this. I feel like Data should do a little exhibition of his little art collection. And it should be called Culture of One. And he shows like Geordi a bunch of them. But my personal favorites are the Blacksmith, which is the first one with Dr. Soong. And the Hallway. I liked that one. There's like also one of like... there's like a wing. He does like he explains to Geordi all of them. And he's like, oh, he was painting smoke coming out of a bucket, even though it wasn't in his dream. And then he moved on to painting like a bird wing and then a whole bird, then a flock of birds, then just a feather. And Data's like, I want to continue the vision. And Geordi's like, that's a pretty big fucking risk. And Data's like, I'm willing to risk it. So they're like, okay, so Geordi and Julian set it up again so he can be shot by that ray thing I guess on purpose.
I don't know why they still need Julian.
I don't know, but here we are.
Because they were still shooting that scene. They just like went back and shot it again, and they were just like, well, we've still got him here, so we might as well have him here.
Yeah.
Also, otherwise, Julian would just disappear, and they would have his device, and it would just be like, bye, it's ours now.
Oh yeah, it's his device. Oh yeah,
true, yeah.
Yeah. So now it's Mamma Mia 2, here we go again. And Data is hit with the ray and he is down. So then he in his dreams, he follows this clanging noise down hallways to Dr. Soong, who is blacksmithing a black wing, which he then dunks into a bucket of water, which then smokes. It's like the steam. So Data puts then his hand on the anvil, sees a crow. I don't know if it's a crow. It's a bird. I hate birds. It's a black bird. It could be a crow. Could be a black bird. I don't fucking care. I don't know. It's a bird. Bird. The bird flies away. Then Dr. Soong appears on the bridge with a bunch of Data's paintings. I'm just assuming that he also wants Data to do an art exhibit. His ego is so big. He's like, Data, you did art. You got to display it. Everyone's got to see this. He doesn't actually say that. That's just what I assume that he wants. Okay. Then, so yeah, we're on the bridge. And then I noticed in the background initially, I was like, is that Spot in the captain's chair? Yeah, it is. It is. We get a longer shot of Spot, but I did not, it was a quick glimpse for a second. And I was like, oh my God, is that Spot? That Spot is so cute. Spot low-key looks like my friend's cat in that. It was very cute. It looks like Spot is also on board for this art exhibit. So Dr. Soong is verbal diarrhea's the shit out of Data, and he just keeps going. I couldn't even write it. There's just so much happening. He just keeps going. But basically then he says, no man should know where his dreams come from. It spoils the mystery, the fun. But also Dr. Soong is very psyched that Data can see him. And I wrote, so weird seeing Brent Spiner's real face.
Yeah.
It felt like he was wearing the makeup. His skin tone didn't seem real. I'm so used to Data's. And I have no idea what's happening at this point. There's just a lot of nothing of Dr. Soong being excited. I feel like Brent Spiner had a great time with this. I didn't get it, but I'm happy for him. So Dr. Soong tells Data that Data is the bird. And then we cut to 11 full seconds that I could not look at the screen because we were in fucking POV, we're the bird mode.
Oh, yeah.
And because I literally was that would have fully triggered my vertigo. I get motion sickness. Just when I'm seated, I can be in the thing that's moving and I won't get sick. But if I'm still and the thing stuff is moving around me, I will get nauseous. So, I was I timed it because it started and then I was wait a minute. No. So I went back and just kind of out of the corner of my eye, I could see when it was done. Yeah, 11 seconds. That was too long.
Yeah.
So then, Data goes...
It was a lot.
So Data, then he wakes up and he's like, the images I saw during the time I was shut down were generated by a series of previously dormant circuits in my neural net. I believe Dr. Soong incorporated these circuits into my base programming, intending to activate them once I had reached a certain level of development. And Julian says, but the plasma shock activated them prematurely. So I just wrote that because I was I'm not explaining it. They'll explain what the fuck just happened. So now Data plans to shut down his cognitive functions for a brief period each day to generate new internal visions. And Julian's dreaming?
Yeah.
And so Julian's Data, your experiences make me want to write something in a specific publication. They mentioned it, but I didn't feel like going back to write it down.
It's just a science journal.
Yeah. Yeah. He's your experiences make me want to write. And I'm okay, that's nice, I guess. So then Worf is looking back on the planet. Worf is looking over a wall with his his eyes are just bulging out, and it's actually very hilarious the way he's scouting. He waits until it's there's clear, and he climbs over the wall into this courtyard. And then I wrote, what if this is just a Klingon colony in a Romulan area? And then you hear Loki quietly singing in Klingon. Well, you hear it, but you don't know what it is. I only knew that because of Netflix captioning, Netflix subtitles. So Worf is scurrying around, and he comes across a group of Klingons around a fire pit. There's an old guy singing, and Worf grabs him and covers his mouth and tells him he's a friend. In which what universe would someone be totally chill about that? like if someone grabbed me from behind and covered my mouth and were like, "It's cool, I'm a friend," I'd be like, "Not anymore. What the fuck does that to someone?" So then Worf, though, introduces himself to the old guy and asks if his dad is there. And old guy's like, "Oh no, Moog fell at Kittimer and he died in battle." And Worf's like, "Oh, okay. So like, but the Romulans robbed you of dying in battle."
Yeah.
Yeah. Worf is like low-key psyched that his dad died in battle. I was like, okay, you're fine. It's okay. Not, just because like otherwise he would have been really bummed if he was like captured. Anyways, Worf's like, "Oh, the Romulans robbed you of dying in battle." And he's like, "But there's like very little time." And I thought Worf was gonna be like, "Do you want me to do it?" Mm-hmm. I like legit thought for a second that Worf was gonna offer to kill the old guy.
Yeah, it kind of doesn't make sense that he doesn't. I'm realizing.
Yeah, because he's like, "Yeah, there's like very little time. You want to do this?" And I was like, "Oh, okay." No, so it turns out there's 73 Klingons that are there, and I was like, "This is not a prison camp. I don't know what's happening here, but people are a lot more chill than they should be, unless everyone's got fucking Stockholm syndrome." So then Worf asks how many guards there are, and the old guy's like, "Worf, there's stuff you don't understand." And Worf is like, "Okay, tell me." The guy's like, "No, I gotta talk to the elders first." But the old guy, he knew Moog, and he knew Worf when he was little. And the old guy goes, "Once your father insisted we take you on a ritual hunt. You were so eager. You tried to take the beast with your bare hands. It mauled your arm." I was like, yeah, that tracks.
Hot.
That definitely sounds like something Worf would do. So then the old guy tells Worf that he should not have come here. And then like a bunch more Klingons come in, and they're like, "Oh, Worf can't leave," because then like he would bring others. So they like all try to grab him, and Worf is like very distressed. But then he like open palm pushes all these other Klingons off him just in time for like the Romulans to come in. And then the old guy goes, "We are not," oh boy, what did I write? "We are not something here, and neither are leaving. We are not leaving here, and neither are you." And the episode ended.
Yeah. So now it's like dun 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 cliffhanger for next week.
I do wish that like, I mean, I hope that Worf had some like backup or told, I don't know. I hope he like. I hope he told Troy more, that like he talked to Shrek and that Shrek was bringing him to this. So like at least if like Worf, I don't know. I hate this. I hate that Worf went on his own and that he's got no like backup, because I don't trust Shrek to come back. He's like an onion full of layers.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Well, this was an episode that happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually like the Data story, but it's not exciting. It's just like it. When you know as much about Star Trek as Maggie and I do, it's almost inconsequential to things that come later on with Data. But like when this episode came out, that was a big deal. It was Data is getting like a real big part of character development. This is something that is one of the major steps on his quest to be human.
Mm-hmm.
Data digivolved. He got his like crest of courage.
Yeah.
No, it's Quest of Dreams. There you go.
Yeah.
Is that one of the crests? I don't fucking know Digimon anymore.
I don't think so. But I feel like I need to look that up though now. I need to know.
Crest of Wind, Fire, Heart, Go Planet.
Earth, Wind, and Fire. Fire Nation, Earth.
No, I was referencing Captain Planet.
I know.
Okay, fine.
I'm just listing everything that I can think of that has to do with the elements.
Fuck.
Okay, so here's my biggest problem with this episode. It is a terrible crossover episode.
Yes, it is.
Like this does nothing to entice people to watch Deep Space Nine.
Yep, not at all. Not at all.
You don't even see Quark's bar. Like,
no. Which it would have been a good opportunity to do that, yeah.
Yeah. Like, yeah, it's just like Julian's the only other character from Deep Space Nine that we see, which is weird. Like, the story also has nothing to do with the station.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
they're just kind of there for a bit.
Yeah, like, this is a nothing of a crossover episode. I don't even think they come back to the station in part 2.
They don't.
Like,
no, they don't.
And I feel
because
like this
the
is a missed opportunity to like just have like
exactly.
O'Brien to pop in and be like, "Hey guys, what's up?"
The thing is, the data story's done now.
Yeah.
So like,
yeah.
I think part 2 is all the Worf stuff.
Yeah, it is.
It's like all Worf stuff. Yeah.
Which is why it's weird that it's a 2-part episode.
Yeah. It's just
maybe the theme of the first part was just daddy issues.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's like the connecting thread is like the dad thing.
Yeah, it is.
But like, yeah, like, I don't know. Just if you're gonna make a DS9 crossover episode, like actually utilize DS9.
Yeah. The thing is that okay, so I know why they couldn't do the things that they wanted to do with the set. So you know how I said that they couldn't have they couldn't have Dax like they originally wanted to, so they had to use the Doctor instead?
Yeah.
Do you remember the episode in DS9 that's just called Dax?
Oh, is it the trial?
Yes, which takes place in Quark's bar, so they were using that set.
Oh, okay.
So they're just like, well, can't use everything else, I guess. Because that was being shot at the same time as this. And that's why they could use the Doctor, because he's barely in the episode. But
still, like, they don't even go to Ops or...
No, I know.
Like,
I know.
the main like, there's so many other sets.
No, Ops gets used pretty extensively in the episode as well. In Dax. Because there's a lot there's a lot of stuff between Sisko and Odo in it, because he's trying to, like... what do you call it? Odo's trying to, like, explore this more. The situation that happened. Yeah.
How about this? How about you push your crossover episode then? You know?
Oh, you're right. They should have done that.
Yeah, like just do your crossover episode at a different time and write this one different.
In the end, this was way too early, and I mean, so would have the previous one. This would have been way too early to do a crossover episode. They weren't even halfway through filming the first season yet. It's too soon.
Yeah.
And I mean, you remember the first season of DS9. There's like a couple hits in there, but for the most part, it's like they don't really know what they're doing with this show yet. Yeah.
Like, for me, DS9 really picks up. If I remember correctly, you're not the hugest fan of it, but I really like it. Is that 3-parter at the beginning of season 2. That's where it really picks up for me.
Yeah, you're right. I'm not wait a minute. No, the one at the end of season 2 I really like.
No, at the beginning of season 2.
Oh, the beginning of it. The weird...
The whole Leonalis thing.
That was... Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't love that. You're right.
Mm-hmm. But that's when they...
Are you sure that was that early?
I'm pretty confident, yeah.
I thought the end of season 1 or beginning of season 2 stuff, it wasn't Leonalis, it was the election to become Kai.
No, that's later.
Oh. Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Okay.
Oh, you're right. I just looked it up. You're right. Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of it, but I should also watch it again.
Yeah. Also, that's when DS9 starts to get into the more serialized storytelling instead of episodic.
Yeah, that's true. Dory.
Anyway, we shouldn't.
Hopefully,
talk too
we'll
much
get to
about
all of
DS9.
this.
Yeah. However, DS9 does start a lot stronger than TNG did. It's still pretty cringy, and they still like take a bit to find their footing, but it is technically better than the beginning of TNG.
That's not too hard to do either.
Yeah. Anyway, I think we're justified in talking about it this time because it's specifically the DS9 crossover episode.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, that's really all I have to say about that point is just, I'm just disappointed in it. Mm-hmm. Like, they could have done so much more. Like, and it wouldn't have, I don't think it would have been that much work to rewrite it so that this was not on DS9. And they just moved that to, like, some other time.
Yeah. From what I know about the pre-production of the episode, they had the idea for Birthright, and they laid it out, and they were like, okay, this is actually too much content for just one episode. So Michael Piller was like, okay, well, we had a lot of success with the last time that we just kind of rolled out the red carpet for a two-parter that we didn't know would be a two-parter at first. Let's see if we can replicate that success. And they did it here, and they only barely had enough content for 2 episodes. Yeah. As you can tell. And so it's a lot of things did not fit the way that they wanted to, and this is just kind of what happens on a weekly produced TV show. You get hits sometimes, and then other times like this, you just don't.
Yeah. And that's the trick too, is that sometimes it's too much for one episode, but like not quite enough for 2 full ones, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That said, as I mentioned, the episode was quite successful, even though this particular episode is known as the Data one and the sequel is known as the Worf one, in that it gave a lot of fans something that they wanted to see from Data. So, like, it may not have aged that well. I mean, it certainly hasn't aged that well. But at the time, seeing this kind of, like, metaphysical representation of Data's actual, like, inner thoughts as he's experiencing dreaming for the first time is something that a lot of fans were very excited about. And they didn't even know how much longer the series would be going at this point. They didn't know what would develop with him later on. And I mean, let's face it, the choices they make with him later on kind of like make this one almost irrelevant, which is too bad.
Damn, I just thought of like an interesting like sort of idea they could have done with this, like, and integrating like the Data stuff into it, because DS9 deals a lot with religion and like metaphysics and stuff. So they could have had like Data like visiting Vedics and shit, which are the priests of the Bajoran religion. They're called Vedics. Like, you know, he could have talked to some like, he could have gone to the temple on the station, right? Like, like they could have done things to integrate it into Deep Space Nine more. Yep,
they definitely could have.
I think the whole dream stuff was like, even though like I like that, like the storyline's fine. I feel like it was very shallow. Like, it was just like, ooh, weird dream stuff. And
I mean, this was TV in the 90s, though.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
Like, this is more cerebral than most television in that era would even try to get.
True. And maybe it's just because I forget. Did Brennan Braga have anything to do with this episode?
I believe so.
Okay. Because maybe it's just because I know that Brennan Braga's like whole deal is like he just loves mindfuck stuff, but he uses it,
written by Brennan Braga.
Yeah, but Brennan Braga uses that as a crutch in order for to like not have to have things make sense.
Yes, yeah, I completely agree. And I mean, let's be fair here. Sometimes it has worked really well.
Oh yeah, for
not
sure.
always, but sometimes.
No, but it's definitely a crutch for him.
Yeah,
where it's like, oh, I don't actually have to think about this because it's just mind fucks, you know. So maybe that's why I wasn't too hot on it.
Speaking of mind fucks, this isn't actually specific like episode related, but a friend of mine sent me something the other day that made me just lose my mind, and I'm going to read the thing that she sent me. I think it was from Tumblr or something. The person said, "I would like a Star Trek episode where somehow people hear what the universal translator makes them sound like to their crewmates and are dismayed." And then it says, "Do you think Picard knows that he has a British accent when talking to English speakers? Do you think he's mad?" And then my friend wrote, "Oh my God, I never considered that the crew was speaking native languages. The universal translator translated Earth languages too." And I lost my brain. It's like, what if what if the whole I never thought about that. What if everyone is speaking what if Picard's been speaking French the whole fucking time?
No, because Picard does say French things on occasion, more so early on. And Worf says Klingon things on occasion.
Yeah, but that's kind of an inconsistency with Star Trek because
this show loves retconning. We've discussed this, but
they establish at different points that everyone is speaking their own language and the universal translator is just doing the work. But then they have the inconsistency with people actually pulling out their native language, of their own free will. It's weird.
Yeah, and I never thought about it really that way of that everyone could just be speaking their own languages and then it all just sounds like English to us. I mean, it obviously is English to us because that's what the shows are, but you know what I mean? That we understand as it is because it's the universal translator. Ooh, that's wild. I love that. I'm that's so cool. Because that's one of the things I like when TV shows or movies, when they don't use English if it's not if you're in a country where English is obviously not the native language, and they just they love to do that in costume dramas or just also in shows where they're just in a different country. They just all of a sudden someone will have a British accent but they're from Portugal or some shit, or just they'll do a Russian accent but they're still speaking in English, but everyone they're talking to is Russian. So I always love that when they actually, if you're speaking with people who don't speak, who speak one language or whatever, you speak the language that is supposed to be for that area, or I love that. To me, it's such a small detail, but to me it's so effective.
Yeah, for sure. I love that in North American media. It's if you want them to still speak English, but you need to communicate that they're still foreign, just British.
Yeah.
British accent.
I actually find it very frustrating because language is one of those things where if it's not a major character, it's not too hard to put out a casting call for somebody who speaks or at least knows how to do the accent of a specific language. And it just seems like they don't. There was this this TV show that I watched.
So, but before you get too into this, to be fair, they do that in other countries too, where everyone is just in Germany, just everyone speaking German, even though they're in fucking Canada or whatever.
Oh no, and I get that. I just for me personally, I
for the audience.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, no, and that's fine. I just, for me personally, when I hear that something takes place in a different country and they're speaking the language of that actual country, and then because it always makes me so crazy when
oh no, I definitely agree that it's better.
It's just to me, it's just a little detail that I really enjoy.
Yeah.
And I get why logically for other countries, if they're having something take place in another country, and I mean it's obviously the same thing for here too. I think it's the same with every country. If you're gonna have some kind of something take place somewhere else that, and the people who are predominantly gonna watch it are gonna be speaking English. I get why they do it. They're just it's just a little thing that I just really enjoy, that it's a small detail, but to me it just makes things feel a little less
believable.
Yeah, it makes things feel a little more real. Yeah
It's less immersive.
Yeah.
So I find it particularly frustrating when they're talking about any when they assign a nationality that has an accent that I would immediately recognize. So as I was going to say earlier, I watched a show a couple of years ago called The Americans, which is about these two these two KGB operatives who are in deep cover in the US and lived there in the 1980s, and one of them either speaks fluent Russian or is very, very good at accents, and the other one is just absolutely atrocious at it, and it bothered the crap out of me. She sounds like an American trying to speak an Eastern European language and really failing at it. And I get that at the time I was more familiar with what an East European accent sounds like than maybe the average person was, but still, like, if this is a show about KGB agents, I feel like either never have them speak that language or find somebody who could do it.
Yeah, that's kind of the trick, though. Like, I feel like that's one of those things where it's like, not every single person watching the show is going to pick up on that, and they're like, okay, enough people are not going to pick up on the fact that this is bad that we can get away with it.
Probably, yeah.
So...
It also could be that when she was auditioning, they had her do something like that, and she was much better. Who knows?
Yeah,
she doesn't do it
knows?
much in the
But
show. She only does it, like, twice.
But also the people putting together the show probably don't, like, speak Russian that well or understand what a good Russian accent is.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So, like, one of the things that always irks me is when there are Polish characters, which it doesn't happen very often, but they speak with Russian accents.
Of course.
Because the Polish accent is different from, like, the sort of Russian-Ukrainian, like, deep Eastern European accent.
Yeah.
It's slightly different. So, like, I think on The Sopranos they had, like, a Polish housekeeper or whatever. And, like, the actor, like, she speaks with a Russian accent. Like,
great.
A fake one.
Yeah.
But it's, like, yeah. And honestly, the thing is, like, because I've watched, like, many different videos of, like, dialect coaches and stuff, like, analyzing stuff and talking about, like different dialects and all that stuff. And the biggest factor to whether someone's accent is going to be, like, good or not is just time and preparation. Like how much prep time they have.
Right.
You know? And, like, you know, whether they actually have, like, a dialect coach or whatever. So one of the most famous examples is Meryl Streep, where she learned to speak German with a Polish accent.
Wow.
Yeah, for Sophie's Choice, I believe.
That's impressive as hell.
Yeah. Like, she's, like, very, very famously, like, lauded for the work she did on, like, her accent and dialect in that movie. Because that's, like, such a specific thing. Like, you can, you know, to learn to speak another language with an accent of another language.
Yeah, that is extremely impressive.
Like, another famous example is, this isn't languages, but it's sort of a similar mechanism of thing, is there's that Looney Tunes sketch, the duck season, rabbit season thing. And what's amazing is, like, they like, Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck, they go back and forth, right? Like, arguing whether it's a duck season or rabbit season. And at one point they imitate each other. But it's not just Daffy's voice coming out of Bugs Bunny and Bugs' voice coming out of Daffy. It sounds like Daffy doing a Bugs impression. And it sounds like Bugs doing a Daffy impression. And it's all one guy, like Mel Blanc. And, like, that's just so fucking impressive. To, like, be able to, like, it's hard enough to, like, speak with a different, like, voice or accent or whatever, but to add that extra layer of it is just even more impressive. Anyway, that's Accent Corner.
Yeah, I've actually noticed something similar whenever there is an episode of, I mean, Star Trek does it too, but whenever there's an episode of something where characters, like, switch bodies, and that character has to play themselves. Sorry, that actor has to play the other person acting in their body, which is just like I love when you get episodes like that. I know there always have like really
That's my favorite part of body swap episodes.
Yeah, I know it's like always like a really flimsy like excuse for why they're doing it and whatnot, but it's always incredibly entertaining.
Yeah, especially like when you can see that the cast are buddies and they're just like doing impressions of each other, that they're like kind of like making fun of each other a little bit in like a good-natured way. I find that amusing as well.
Anyway, we are very off track.
So, I think it's fair to move on to favorite moments and lines.
My favorite moments. I don't know. I like that Brent Spiner seemed like he was having a great time in this episode. I like Data's art.
Yeah, the art was really good in this episode.
I liked Troy and Worf being bros. I love their dynamic. I like that we got to see Worf try pasta and he liked that.
Terrible pasta.
Well, not to Worf.
Tastiness is in the tongue of the beholder.
Yeah. I like that there's more stores on there's more shops on DS9.
You have
got
like
more shopping.
You
Jordy mentioned a kiosk and a promenade.
Yeah, that's the that's my pitch to you for Deep Space Nine, is that there is a mall.
There's a mall. There's an established mall.
It's more like a plaza. I mean, they call it the promenade, which is, I think, the most accurate word.
Yeah. And I do like that there was a character named Shrek in this episode.
Yeah.
I guess that's it.
Yeah.
I liked Spot on the chair on the bridge. I liked
that was
Spot
pretty
there.
good, yeah.
Yeah. Kat will always bump it up a few notches. I honestly really liked Julian's enthusiasm. Like, I just thought it was like it. I just thought it was neat. And I like they have Data say it in the episode where like everyone's always interested in like Data's like superhuman stuff, but I did like that Julian was interested in like those like little details that like make Data sort of seem more human, in the fact that like when Dr. Soon was like putting him together, he thought of like, you know, having him breathe and having like his hair grow and all that stuff, like things that would make the people like around him like more comfortable. And it would be like for Data like wanting to be human, it just like helps with that as well.
For me, it was Worf chewing out the random gold shirt on the bridge. That was just very amusing to me that he just snapped at him, and it's like, this is just some guy, dude.
Yeah. All right. So now, predictions for the next episode, which is, what do you think's gonna happen next with all the Worf like Klingons in the Romulan prison camp thing?
Well, okay, it's obviously not a prison camp. That's my first thought. I feel like, I mean, the old guy was so fucking vague. I mean, I get that he was trying to wait to give the stuff away in part 2, but like Worf doesn't know that. I do I hope Worf gets some kind of closure.
Yeah, he got his
I mean,
closure,
he
but
got,
now he's
like,
captured.
okay, your dad fully did die.
Yeah.
But like, yeah. Well, I hope then Worf gets. I mean, he'll get out. He'll get out because we're still in season 6, and I've got my tray from season 7.
What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, like they have like a different story they want to tell, but like I think it would have been interesting if Worf did have to deal with his dad like being alive and like suffering that kind of dishonor and shit.
Yeah. Okay, in terms of what I think is happening there, I feel like, I mean, they don't seem to be in any kind of actual peril, and like the girl was like, I don't know, she seemed to be like super chill. She didn't seem like she was being like in any kind of peril when she's like, this is my home. So I guess my guess is like I said in my notes, like I'm guessing it's like now like a colony. I feel like maybe they captured them, but I feel like it's become Stockholm syndrome-esque and they just kind of live there now. But maybe if I'm going to add a little bit of something extra to it, maybe they like, I'm just saying, like, I'm just wondering like how, like, there must be something put out about this place though, because how would Shrek have learned about it? Because it's not like they want people to go there, because then the old guy said, oh, well, like if they let Worf go, then he's going to bring people back with them, and they don't want people to be there. I'm wondering if maybe this is like a Romulan group that also maybe like not low-key defected, but like maybe this is just like a Romulan Klingon sort of just its own colony, and they're like pretending to be associated with the Romulan shit, and they have to just like keep pretending so like they don't get it, like no one comes to like inquire more, and it's just their own thing, and they're just like happy there. They have their own shit. Yeah. I think I'm just going with this is like a, this is just like a colony that the Romulans and like, because if any, they cause like any kind of attention to it, that could cause like the Romulans outside of this colony to like come and investigate, and that could fuck everything up.
Okay, cool.
Or maybe this is like a group of rebels or something though too. There've been a lot of rebel shit lately, so.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, if you'd like to find out the answer, watch along with us and join us for the next episode of Fully Functional, a TNG podcast.
Goodbye.